Hey guys, Common Sense Outdoorsman here. So I looked up the cheapest knife on Amazon, and a couple of others came up, but one didn't have a handle. It just had a paracord wrap. But this one came up, okay, and this is, I'm going to take the camera down here. And this is made by Dispatch Knives. I haven't seen it around too long. They got a couple of other different models. But the steel, they just call it a stainless steel, and I'm going to guess it's either an 8CR 13 MOV or a 7CR 17, 420, or maybe a 440A, some kind of base stainless steel like that, which is fine. If it's heat treated properly, that would be okay. But the first thing I noticed about this knife is it's lightweight. It is a very lightweight knife, so as you can see, there's no metal through the pommel of the handle, and I'm curious as to how far that tang does go into the handle. And so it catches there with the magnet. Go down a little bit more, it's catching there, and then it kind of loses it. So somewhere about in there, and I'm going to guess that it's kind of Mora-esque in that the tang, you know, the handle, this is a rubber hard plastic handle, is just molded around the tang of the knife, which comes to about that point there. Okay, so advertised as a tactical survival knife, is it really a survival knife? Look at how thin the blade is, and it's like, as I say, it's Mora-esque. Here's my Mora companion. Let's see if we can look at those. Now the black one, the Dispatch knife, may look thinner because it's painted black, but maybe probably about the same as the Mora. So I think that might be about 2.5 millimeters. And it's very light. It's got to be under, very similar to the Mora companion, it's got to be under, I'd say under 4 ounces probably. That's how light it is. Let's, oh, before I do that, the handle kind of looked familiar to me. And look at that handle. What knife do you think this handle is modeled after? And then I finally figured it out, the Buck Nighthawk. The Buck Nighthawk. Look at the guard and how that is with the thumb ramp there. And the handle with the forefinger groove and the pinky groove, very much like the Buck Nighthawk. So I think they lovingly and caringly borrowed that design from the Buck Nighthawk. Okay, let me give you a closer look at the blade. It is just a slight hollow grind, and it does have a little swedge there on the tip. Very thin tip. So for these reasons, would I classify this, or would I purposely buy this knife to be my survival knife? No, probably not. It's a little bit shy of the criteria for me. The blade's got to be thicker, the point's got to be a little thicker and sturdier, and I prefer a full tang for that tang to come out the pommel, or be able to see it, you know, see the whole tang around the knife. So I'm not saying it's not a good knife. I'm just saying that it is not in survival category for me. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't survive with this knife. If this is what you had and you had to make do, you'd probably be fine, but you'd have to be, you know, you'd have to remember that it's just a slight knife, and there's going to be some heavier tasks you might not want to do with this knife for fear of it breaking. Okay, so yeah, that's a comparison to the Mora, and this is tough when you hold it up there. Then you got to switch them because the one on top always looks bigger. The handles. Okay, so let's look at the sheath, and the sheath is Mora-esque. Here's the companion sheath, and they're both made out of the same plastic. The belt loops are similar. It has the button loop part. Okay, so yep, kind of made the same. And I'm not saying it's a bad, it's very light, weighs nothing. It's got some holes there, so if you wanted to lash at something, you could. The knife fits in fairly secure. There's going to be a little rattle, but that doesn't bother me. But the knife isn't going to come out. And I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's a couple of those plastic tabs on the one side that go on the bottom side of the pommel there. So it kind of fits in snug and kind of locks in. You could turn it around if you were a lefty. It still goes in and locks, but you can see the space on the bottom. It doesn't go all the way. So it's only made for right-handed carry, but I think if you were to cut those notches out, see those plastic tabs they've got in there, it might fit better if you were a lefty, okay? But I kind of like the sheath. It's a nice package. I like the knife. I paid $15 for it, and it already went down to $13.50 on Amazon. Okay, so looks okay to me. Survival knife class, maybe not. Let's compare it to the Gerber Prodigy, which to me would be a survival knife. Okay, the handle is slighter, not as big, and of course the thickness of the knife. Look at that Gerber Prodigy, a lot thicker. The tip is a lot thicker. Okay, so, and this knife's a lot heavier. This knife's probably 8 or 9 ounces. Like I said, this knife feels like maybe 4 ounces or under 4 ounces. So a fairly lightweight knife. Let's take a look at it compared to the Ganzo 801 survival knife. This is more of a survival knife to me, and namely, look at the thickness of the steel. And the Ganzo has that ferro rod squaring of the spine there to strike a ferro rod. But yeah, so you can see that Ganzo is much thicker, so is the knife tip. Okay. So I like the knife. I think it's worth $13.50. I would not categorize it as a survival knife per se. Okay, so that is the Dispatch Tactical Survival Knife. If you just look that up on Amazon, it'll come up. And they've got 2 other models. One has a serrated edge and another one has like a saw back on the spine, which I don't really like for a knife like this. All right, guys, sorry for the abrupt ending of that first part of the Dispatch knife, but let me show you how it rides on the on my belt. And like I say, it's Mora-esque. It comes out of the sheath fairly easily, goes back in fairly easily. It's comfortable. It does kind of move around with you, so no problems there. Let's see. Oh, it came right off the belt loop there. Let's try that again. All right, I didn't have it on there good enough, I don't think. All right, so there's the knife. Let's see, put it to a little bit of a test here, and being that it's built like a Mora, I'm not gonna be too rough on it, but let's go down to my workstation here and see how it feathers. And it's fairly sharp, and I suspect that it would be an okay knife to feather stick with. And this is pretty much how it was out of the package. And the purchase of the knife is good. It's fairly grippy. The handle's a little small for me. I'd like it to be a little bit bigger, but that's just my personal preference. Yeah, it's comfortable to use. Makes easy feathers. Wood is curling nicely. No problem at all with that. Yeah, so easy to make feathers with. Let's take that one off the stick. Put that, it's a little windy today. And let's do some easy batoning. Not going to beat on it too much. But I think it'll do okay. Get to a smaller piece, you could do it by hand. Just kind of push that blade through it. No problem. A little knot there. So let's hit that. All right. Yeah, like a Mora, I wouldn't beat up on it too bad. And the question was, is this a survival knife? And really, you have to answer that for yourself. For me, like I said, it's not, I wouldn't categorize it as a survival knife because it is kind of a slight knife. Thin, not full tang. Could one survive with it? Probably. But there's going to be some tasks that you're going to wish you had a heftier knife for. But yeah, it definitely feathers fine. Get you back down there, sorry. Yeah, this seems to be its best work, doing finer work. I'm not even going to chop with it. This is not a chopper. At probably under 4 ounces. It's not going to chop well. It's just not enough weight, not enough size. Get that out of the way. See how she fires up. So no problems making kindling and getting a fire going with this knife. Guys, this is the Dispatch Tactical Survival Knife. And I'm going to use this knife some more. and put it through some more paces and see how it holds up. See if it holds up as well as my Moras. Doing this kind of work on a regular basis, my Moras hold up fine. So I'll bring this knife back again, and we'll check up on it. So thanks for watching, guys. Common Sense Outdoorsman. Talk to you later.